How do you handle having a thesis and then the price going the other way around? Like you have been calling the big reset for a long time, and we're getting into that end stage of this entire financial ecosystem that we used to know. And there are a lot of, well, there's a lot of anger in societies at this point. That's why we have the wars, or even in the Netherlands, we have the demonstrations and all those things. But you have a fundamental thesis and you have the investment thesis.
Yeah.
And they can be different. Like, for instance, I've got a thesis with the markets, but I've been going into altcoins a little too early. So I went underwater for like 70% for 6 months in time.
Yeah.
And people call me stupid.
Yeah, well, my main thesis over the last 20 years was that we would see continuation of the debasement of currency. We would see a situation where more and more people would wake up and would start to flee towards hard assets, gold and silver being the hardest of all, until Bitcoin arrived, because I think Bitcoin is even scarcer than gold, and that's why it's the fastest horse in the race now. So I positioned myself. I stopped being a journalist in 2008. I was a journalist for the first 25 years of my career. I stopped being a journalist. I went over to the dark side. I wanted to make money, and I positioned myself. I built 2 companies in 2008. One was a billion web shop, which I sold 3 years later in 2011. And the other was the Commodity Discovery Fund, in which we are building hard asset positions worldwide. And I wasn't aware that when we started the fund in 2008, that was the top of the last commodity cycle. So valuations at that time were pretty high. And we had to build a fund for the last 13, 14, 15 years, running against the stream because valuations came down. But this is a long-term play for me. So we use this bear market in commodities to study the world, to map the world. And now, after 10, 15 years experience, we know exactly where the largest and most valuable and most significant undeveloped gold, silver, copper, and uranium companies and projects are. And we built stakes. We took stakes in these, let's say, top 50 of best and most valuable undeveloped projects. And we took stakes of 1% up to 9% of those listed companies. So I don't care that my thesis isn't working out for a few years, as long as the thesis will stand for when I need it. I'm 62 now, and when I don't have any plans of retiring, and actually I want to follow Warren Buffett's timeline, and so I have another 30 years, and I'm quite sure that in the next 30 years we'll make an awful lot of money.
Well, yeah. Well,
by positioning ourselves in these hard assets.
I think I watched one of your other podcasts where, and I think we discussed this in Cape Town too, where I often don't call work work. It has a negative sort of phrase to it.
Yeah.
It's just a passion.
Yeah. We're aligned on that.
Yeah, well, I discussed this with my girlfriend as well, like who's going to work less once we get into having a family and stuff.
We can't work less.
No, I can't.
This is 24/7.
But how do you keep your sort of sanity, even like in this period where Trump is just constantly trying to tweet stuff out?
It's just get into the chopper and go towards 30,000 feet and look down and stick to your major analysis, stick to the longer term plan. Debasement of currency is continuing. More and more people will start to flee towards hard assets. Position yourself in a very diversified, hard asset portfolio. You know about my model portfolio. That's not the fund portfolio. Fund portfolio is only listed equities in these commodity plays and now Bitcoin. My personal portfolio is 25% real estate. I also have real estate in Dubai, so I try to spread my investments a bit outside Europe as well, 25% in physical gold and silver, 25% in equities, including my own fund. But I don't have all my money in my fund. Sometimes people attack me. Why don't you have put more money into your fund? Well, I diversify. Yeah. And then 25% you keep as liquid as possible, cash or Bitcoin. And I'm a very conservative investor, actually, myself. And I've done well even in the last 10 years, in which we had difficult markets in commodities, but not all of my money was invested in commodities.
It's an interesting one you say there, is that you have real estate in Dubai. We previously talked about stablecoins, which in the Middle East is a very often being used payment method. Like one of my best friends just bought his car with just USDT. Which is banned here.
I have a friend who bought dozens of apartments in Dubai with altcoins.
Oh, that's nice. Maybe at some point, if it goes up, I need to go there. But
yeah. So in Dubai, digital assets are being treated the same as other forms of assets or currencies.
And that's, I think, in my generation, it's a very common topic to say, well, we don't want to be here in the Netherlands, we want to go away. And then Dubai pops up as the first country to first city to go to.
Well, it's a new Switzerland, in a way.
Switzerland,
you think so? Yeah. Switzerland used to be special because they had this, when you stored money at the bank there, it was like a secret. It wasn't connected to your name. Of course, that was for people who want to avoid taxes. So you could say Switzerland is built on maybe money which wasn't that clean.
Could say the same for Dubai.
Well, in a way. But Switzerland was always very attractive because it was neutral from a political point of view. Yeah. Even in the Second World War, it was neutral. But now Switzerland joined the US in sanctions against Russia. So people from Russia and France don't feel comfortable anymore in Switzerland. So where are they going? Go to Dubai.
Yeah.
So many of the rich people from Lebanon, they fled to Dubai. Many of the rich people from Ukraine fled to Dubai. Many of the rich guys from Russia fled to Dubai. Many of the rich guys from London and Europe are now fleeing to Dubai. Not that they move away from their original country totally, but they want to diversify. They want to have the second passport or the golden visa. And if you look at the numbers, over 5,000 millionaires were moving out of London in the last year. And if you look at the numbers of millionaires arriving in Dubai, then that explains why this city in the Middle East is growing at such a rapid speed.
It's I've been there like 10 times in the past 3 years myself, and it's a common discussion that I have with my business partner, is to go to Dubai. Like you don't really want to live there, as it's like 45 degrees. But in terms of how fast you get business opportunities there and the connections you have, but also the ability to transfer money without a bank saying you can't.
Yeah.
Without having the big taxes like we have in the Netherlands. That's a big difference.
But if you mainly have Dutch-speaking clients like we have, we're not considering of moving towards Dubai, although there are advantages. Mm-hmm. We're very happy still in the Netherlands. I don't care to pay taxes as long as it's not over 30%. So I'm not looking at Dubai for tax reasons, and neither am I looking at Switzerland for tax reasons. We have a house in Switzerland. We enjoy being there. Quality of life is wonderful, but we're happy to be Dutch, Dutch company. I pay a lot of tax in the Netherlands, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
If we talk about opportunities, of course, Bitcoin is the fastest horse. But outside of Bitcoin in the crypto ecosystem, there is a big ocean of altcoins, even Ether. You mentioned that you have invested into a DeFi fund.
Yeah.
What are the opportunities that you're looking for when it comes to crypto?
Well, I'm like a fisherman who's only catching tuna. I don't understand the other fish. I don't care. The tuna, I like the tuna. I love the taste of the tuna, and I can make enough money by just catching tuna, and I leave the other fish in the ocean for guys like you.
Yeah, well, we try to get like the most special fishes then, I guess. But I mean, ultimately, Trump also has his World Liberty Finance thingy where he invests into a basket of altcoins. Do you make anything out of that, or is there anything interesting for yourself?
My most scarce commodity is time. There are only 24 hours in a day. We have to follow our own ecosystem, which is over 1,000 listed commodity companies, all promising to make the next big discovery. I need to follow macro. I don't have the time to study it. So that's why I invest in a specialized fund who is invested in the best projects together with the Silicon Valley top guys. So I never understand these investors who pick the best stocks in tech, in pharma, in commodities, in finance. You can't do that. You need to be a specialist. I'm a specialist in my own field. I think you try to be a specialist in your field. And I'm not afraid that I lose opportunities. You only need a few opportunities to do well. And sometimes it's even more important not to act, not to invest, I learned that I've been very active with startups. I'm one of the founding shareholders of Startup Bootcamp Amsterdam. And I'm in a basket of startup companies through my investments. I don't follow them one-to-one. I just look at the basket. And we had one unicorn. We had 50% that failed. Some are doing quite well. But that's the approach which I like, and that's what we do with our fund. You spread your risk over, let's say, 50 companies, and then you can accept quite a high degree of risk per investment. But I don't want to understand everything about altcoin. I leave that to other guys.